Hi guys, Bran here. Another rant video. This is probably the rawest of rant videos that I have done so far because I literally my computer was off. my computer upstairs was off. I was just vibing. I was just chilling. I was just watching this video that I'm gonna put up there. I'm not gonna. If you want to watch it in its entirety, you need to go to their channel and actually watch it. I'm not doing that, but I will post a screenshot up there just for the context of the main point that I'm going to be talking about. But yeah, my computer was off. My day had just started. I was just eating, getting my food out of the way. That way I could start my day. And I was watching this video to start my day. And I just had to talk about it. I just had to. Now, I will say, I watch Scott's stuff pretty frequently. Obviously, you can see, his format, my format, very similar. I watch Otts and Scott a lot. I try to keep up on their videos. So obviously their format inspires the format of this channel pretty heavily. So it's something that I like to keep up with. And obviously if I didn't agree with most of the things that they said and do on their channels, I wouldn't watch them and keep up to date on all of their content, right? And I think that's what took me, right, of watching this video, was that I agree with this person about 90% of the time that they say things. 90% of the time that they speak and they say things, I'm like, oh, well, that makes sense. Or oh yeah, that tracks. But for the first time, there was a video that he put out, and it's this one, the high MMR paradox video. This is the first video he's put out that I looked at about 90% of what he said, and I was just like, no, I disagree with basically all of that. And it's really weird because like I said, obviously I've kept up with his videos for a really long time, and I would say for the most part I agree with almost everything he says, but this video just missed entirely for me. I didn't agree with any of his points at all. So I wanted to talk about one main one though. Is that this picture, this specific tweet made by Tomalak, I don't know if I said that right, but this argument that he makes towards this tweet is very peculiar and interesting to me, and we're gonna break it down. So essentially what this guy is saying TLDR is he doesn't really care about winning or losing. He just says that the stress of that MMR has brought on makes even the matches that you win unfun. And that's a sentiment I have. I really do. That's something that I agree with, that it's possible to win or get a tie and still be miserable. The game that went down was not fun and did not conduct well. And here's the deal. Scott does not believe MMR matters. He doesn't think it's a thing. He doesn't think it affects the gameplay at all. And that's fine. He can think that. He has way more hours than I do. Like double, triple. Way more. He's been playing for this game for 6 years. I've only been playing for about 2. So he has infinite more knowledge than I do. But from my standpoint and my experience, what the major difference that happened was when MMR got put in, we know from the data mine that what matters now is escaping. That is what matters. That is what improves your MMR. What improves your MMR is escaping. So that makes priority number 1 gens and immersion. That's what the new priority becomes. Because it doesn't matter if there's no stakes. It doesn't matter if there's no stakes. If you set goals, and people love goals. Humans are goal-oriented creatures. So if you say, hey, the new goal is get the gens done, don't die, and get out around 10 minutes. Those are the parameters of MMR for Survivor. So that shifts the paradigm. That shifts the focus from maybe I'll loop with the killer a little bit to there is no point to loop with the killer because the game's not measuring it at all. So let's prioritize generators, living, and keeping the match short. That's what it's measuring. And that has been reflected in my experience. and plenty of other people's experiences that are on his Twitter, that are on my YouTube, telling me every day that this is like the experience that they're having, is that people have shifted their focus from, you know, maybe I'll get something out of looping with the killer to, man, I really got to do those gens. Like, a lot of people have shifted to be more like objective focused because that's what the new MMR measures the most. That is why I think we're seeing arguments like this up here where they're talking about, well, the games don't even matter because they're not fun. It doesn't matter if I'm winning or losing, they're not fun. And I agree with that sentiment, like, very deeply. Is that, like, because I've seen a shift between like, oh, well, like, all the good loopers are dying because, you know, people going for loops and risky plays, which is the fun part of the game, are usually end up dying. They usually end up dying because they're the one interacting with the killer the most, but, you know, by nature, right? So they're slipping down into like mid to low MMR, and everybody who's just super objective focus is going up, right? Like that is, you know, that's literally what the game is measuring. That's how the game is determining things. If you can loop well, doesn't matter. If you go for risky saves to get another friend out, doesn't matter. Literally does not matter. Literally does not matter. So that's why I feel like games have gotten so unfun. Because the higher you go in the MMR, I'm not even talking high MMR. I'm talking about like the higher you go, just on a sliding scale. The higher you go, the high MMR players aren't good loopers. They're not even really good players. They just know how to hold M1 and do it on separate gens and how to like immerse away from the killer. That is what the game is rewarding. So that's what is up at high MMR, which is why you're seeing so many people get so like bored and frustrated with the game. I don't think people are getting bored and frustrated with the game because they're getting looped for like 4 gens. I don't think that's happening in a mass amount, like a mass wave. I feel like what people are experiencing is people downing one person, hooking them, and 2 gens are already finished. And then like they go chase another person and the next 2 gens are finished. That is what people find frustrating. That is what is happening that people are finding frustrating. And no matter, like, I know he says in this video that he's played for 6 years and that, you know, he doesn't care about anything, and, you know, that's like his main point is that like I've played for 6 years, so I don't care about anything. And like and in lieu with that, he also says that, you know, it's always been sweaty. It's always been terrible. I personally, since I've only been playing for about 2 years, from year 1 playing this game to when MMR came out, I have noticed an immense shift to objective focus. That like survivors are more efficient now than I have ever faced playing this game. They are more efficient now than they've ever been. Like I was at a certain point like a while ago where I'm like, well, if they're splitting up on gens and they're doing gens super efficiently, they're probably like 2 duos, they're probably like a trio in a solo queue, but like somebody may be on comms, no, that's not even the case anymore. People are being good at doing gens without comms, without anything, just naturally. Like there has been a shift in people actually being better about doing gens, knowing what the quote unquote meta is for doing gens, which is mostly just splitting up or sticking in duos with people who have Prove Thyself. People without needing comms have been way more efficient about that than I have ever experienced in this game. Like ever. Like ever since MMR came out, that like people have been that way. Like that has been the shift. And like he says that it's like it's not the MMR. Like the MMR just doesn't work. It doesn't make any sense. And like that's not what's causing it, and it's just the placebo effect. And in that case, it is the MMR. You know, like I don't get that argument that it's like, you know, like, oh well, it's just the community induced problem. Like no, the community wasn't doing that before now. Like that's not a catch-20. That's not a I gotcha. You know, that's not a ooh, see? That's just the community. It's like, no, you set new goals for the community. The MMR system, regardless of whether it works or not, sets new goals for the community. It does. MMR, regardless of whether it works or not, sets new goals for the community. It doesn't have to, but it does for the most part. There's going to be, like, he says this in this video. There's some people that are incentivized, or who are not incentivized by the MMR changes, and they're just not, like, if they made things easier for Killer, they wouldn't play as mean. They would just kind of, like, chillax more. But for the most part, no, that's not what's going to happen. Because if you change the goals in the game, people are going to follow them. Because people like having goals. People like succeeding at things. People like finishing tasks. So yes, it is the MMR. Regardless of the system itself, if it works or not, because he doesn't think it works. I think it works to some extent, because obviously, like, I just don't think it works in the way we think it does, because we assume, oh, hey, well, if I'm not getting better survivors, MMR isn't working. It's like, no, the MMR, I think the MMR works. It's just measuring the wrong things. So we get really, really bad survivors that just happen to be very gen efficient. That's my take. But that, once again, this is just comparing one anecdotal experience to another anecdotal experience. So it's like, there's nothing there. This is just feelings. But TLDR, trying to wrap it up a little bit, is that regardless of whether it's the system doing it or whether or not it is the community chasing the system has caused people to play more efficiently when it comes to generators. And that is the most boring part of this game. So the game is less fun. One of the things that really bothers me about this video is that he says almost to every single one of these Twitter responses, I guess you just don't like Dead by Daylight. I guess you just don't like Killer. He says that as a response to almost like every single one of these points is, oh, well, I guess you just don't like Killer anymore. Oh, I guess you just don't like Dead by Daylight. Like that, and that was like the main thing that like caused me to just like stop what I was doing and come up here and record a video despite looking like terrible and stuff. Is like, what? That shook me. It was just, oh, well, you just hate the game now. that was the response, or you just hate how the game works. And I don't think the gen part of the game is the fun part. It's not. Like that's a mobile game, right? Like, you guys have played mobile games. It's like, hatch a dragon, take care of your dragon, make sure nothing attacks your dragon. Build your little city, build your little medieval town, make sure nothing attacks your town. That's a mobile game. That's a mobile game. Defending gens feels like a mobile game, and not even a good one. It's a boring objective from both sides. Holding M1 is boring and defending gens is boring. I don't think anybody will argue about that. But when the game, for one reason or another, starts really emphasizing on that aspect of the game over the other parts, yeah, I do think the game is going to be more boring than it was before. I think because we're at that point where they changed the goal, they changed the objective. Like, we have a new goal, is just be more efficient at gens. That the games have been more boring for me since MMR has been a thing. They just have been. Because of that. Because that's not the fun part of the game. The chases are the fun part of the game. Risky saves are the fun parts of the game. Because those have tension. Those have gameplay. They have gameplay that's unique only to Dead by Daylight. Even with VHS. VHS does things very, very differently when it comes to chases. Like this is the only place to get this kind of gameplay. And when you say, hey, listen, all we're measuring is gen progress and gen success, that is minimizing the only fun and unique part of the game. I don't think it's that people just hate Dead by Daylight. I think people want to play the thing that makes Dead by Daylight, and not something they could find in a mobile game. And for them, like, I feel like before, you know, there were sweaty teams. Of course, there's always sweaty gamers, and that's something I do agree with that he says, is that, like, well, everybody, like, for a large extent, yes, there's always been sweatiness. There's always been people out there trying to be sweat lords and ruin not necessarily ruin everybody else's fun, but, like, you know, like, just kind of like taking the game way too seriously for a pub party game. You know, and that's fine. I mean, that's fine, and I agree with that aspect of it. But I think what people are feeling is the shift towards the gen focus. And there's a lot of stuff that goes into that, right? It's not just the MMR or MMR placebo. Like, it's like there's a lot of anti-chase killers, so chasing isn't fun anymore. People have discovered the whole W meta, so people understand that sometimes just like running in a straight line is better than looping. Like there's a lot that goes into that, but a big part of it is the MMR. Whether it actually works or not is like definitely a huge reason that people have shifted towards more gen focused gameplay. But yeah, that's gonna be it for this. I've already ranted way too long, and I got stuff to do today. This literally was like I started my day, I was having my food, and I watched this, and I was like, you know what, that I don't agree with these things. And I will preface this again, or preface this, it's the end of the video. I will cap it off with this at the end, like I just started with the video. It's like, I agree with like 90% of what this person says. I think he has a lot of good ideas about the game. As somebody who's played for 6 years, he probably should. And if he doesn't, that's a little weird, you know? So I'm not like a Scott hater or anything. Like, that's not like my point. I'm just saying that like, this almost a reverse, where like I'm not a Scott hater and I usually don't disagree with anything that he says. So the fact that he had a video where I disagreed with almost everything, I was like, that's pretty out there. I kind of want to talk about that. I kind of want to respond to that, because I'm like, that like never happens for me when I watch his videos. So it's just interesting. But yeah, so like I said, watch the full video if you want the full context. TLDR, since MMR is only focusing on gens, a lot of people are becoming more gen focused, whether that is because MMR is actually slotting me with people who are actually more gen focused players, or if people are just becoming more gen focused because they want to meet the new goal set by the MMR. The game is becoming more gen focused, and the gen focus is, the gens aren't the fun part of the game or the unique part of the game. So that's why the games are feeling worse. That's why people are unhappy with MMR. And I just didn't agree with a lot of his points, where it was like, oh well, you just hate Dead by Daylight. The game's always been this way. Just those sort of things, those sort of responses. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. I know I've done a lot of rants lately. It's an interesting time, and Dead by Daylight apparently. So but yeah, thank you so much for watching, friends. If you like this video, make sure to like it. I'd be very interested to hear what your comments on this will be, because last time I posted a rant, it was very divisive. So that's a thing. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, friends. If you want to see more of my daily uploads, please do the Subaroni, because the YouTube homepage will hide them otherwise. Other than that, I will see you when I see you, friends. Goodbye.